Hello, welcome to 528 Games Lab. In this video, I'm going to continue on from my previous video where I created a kind of a main menu scene for my new game called Hubris Solaris. And in this video, I'm going to use Cinemachine to transition between various phases of my main menu and into gameplay. This nebula I haven't managed to get working, so I think I'm gonna tidy that up for now. So let's get rid of the nebula. See how that looks. Okay, it actually looks a bit cleaner. So the way I want to make this game, I want it to kind of transition into gameplay from the menu without feeling like there's any loading or anything like that happening. I want it to feel like, all right, this is the vessel, it's in space, it's traveling, and you know, there's something to do from the outset. So let's create our first transition. So to do that, we need to head over to the Cinemachine menu option. And the type of camera I want to create in this case is a state-driven camera. And the reason I want it to be a state-driven camera is because I'm going to have quite a few different virtual machines in the scene, and I want to be able to trigger the transition to those cameras as easily as possible. And this is one way that you can do that. So the first thing I'm going to do once I've created the camera is to come into here and I want to set up my virtual cameras as states. So I've got my existing cameras up here. Let's just name these so we know what we're dealing with. So that's the dolly cam, that's the starting dolly cam. And I want to create a new virtual, and this one is going to be the transitioning out from the dolly cam into what I'm going to call the scan cam. So I'm thinking that you're going to click the scan button, and the ship's going to kind of automatically go into a scan mode to kind of scan the universe for planets. So I need to tell that camera what to look at. Then I need to move the camera for the scan cam out slightly so we've got a bit of a wider field of view, doing it from a slightly further perspective. Because what I'm going to do is when you click the scan button, it's going to send this scan pulse wave across the universe, scan the planets that are in the close vicinity of the vessel. Okay, so I've got my angle, which I think looks okay. So when you create a state machine and you add these states, it creates a child virtual camera for you. But in this case, I've already got the virtuals that I've created, so I want to drag those in. And I also need an animator, so let's set that up now. So the animator is going to be responsible for making the transitions to the different states. So let's create a new folder, call that animation, and now let's create our animation controller. Let's call that main menu or menu animation controller. And I'm going to create some states in here. The first one is the scan mode, which is what we're working on now. And then I need another state for the initial main menu. Let's just call that main or menu mode. And I want to transition to any of these from any state. So let's create some parameters for that. So is menu will be the first one. Let's create a ball. Is scan mode. And now let's create a one for the menu. Is menu. So how this will work is when I set these booleans from within my code, the animator will make the transition into these other states, and then the Cinemachine State Machine will pick up on that and then transition the camera views. So for the menu, I want to set that to is menu mode true. So that's the transition that will happen when is menu is true. Let's do the same for scan mode. And that will be when is scan mode is true. I think that should work. So now let's set these transitions up. So to do that, I need to set these custom blends up. So I'm going to have to drag the menu animation controller into my Cinemachine camera. So let's do that. I'm not seeing the states here, and that's because we haven't set the controller up yet. So let's set the animator up with the controller, and then we need to do this, tell the Cinemachine State Machine which animator to use. So the animated target in this case is our animator. What's in this? It's the same object in this case. So now I have access to my states, scan mode and menu mode, and I can tell it which cameras to transition to for each one of those states. So for menu mode, I want the initial camera. I'm not sure why it's called that because I renamed it. I might have to sort that out. So that's the scan cam. I think I know. That's one of the default. That's one of the cameras it created for me. Yep. So we don't want these two. We want to get rid of these two and use our virtual cameras that we created. So let's drag those in. That's the start dolly cam. Bring that in and do the same with. Let's set that up as the start, and now let's do the same with scan cam. Delete the default ones, or the ones it created for us. Okay, it already knows that that those two cameras are children of the State Machine camera. Let's make sure these transitions are set up. Yeah, so we've got scan mode and menu mode. So next thing I want to do is set up a click event for my button, and I'm gonna use a method on the main menu. So on scan click, and this is where I'm going to initiate the Cinemachine transition in code. Let's link up that function. And the other thing I'm going to need is a reference to my camera so that I can call it from within this method. So let's just copy this field up here. So now this is the state machine camera. Now what I want to do is in code get the animator component and then set the ball to make the transition. Set that to true. Now let's drag the reference, which it isn't letting me do because I've set the type on the menu class incorrectly. So let's go back to that. This needs to be of type Cinemachine State Driven Camera. Now let's try that again. Okay. Now let's see what happens. So that's not right. What's happened is the scene has started in the scan mode state. Let's see why that is. Okay, so we don't have a default state set. So what's happening is Cinemachine is just doing whatever the animation controller is telling it to. So let's create a default state. Let's try that out. And that's still not working. And that's because we have messed up, or I have messed up, the animation controller. So you can see here the entry point is going directly to scan mode. So we're it being initialized in scan mode. And I can't remove that initial reference, so I have to create a new one. This one cannot be removed. So I'm going to have to change the way I've set this up, which is straightforward. I can just swap these around. Definitely can't delete that. So instead, we can just change the name of this to menu, mode, and then change the other one to scan mode. And change the transitions around. So this will be menu mode equals true, and this one will be scan mode equals true. Now let's try that. Looks a bit better. So when we can see in the editor that the initial state is menu mode, and when I click tap to scan, it should transition to scan mode. There we go. Works really well. Let's try that again. So when we click tap to scan, it should transition from wherever the camera is into the scan mode camera, which is really nice. There was a bit of a delay there, and I think that's because of these values, so I'm going to reset these to 0. And let's try that one more time. So now we should get a bit more of an instant transition as soon as we click. Yeah, that's brilliant. So guys, that's all I'm going to go over for today. Hope you enjoyed the video, and until the next video, goodbye.